Hi, welcome to HUBBLElife. I'm Becky, your host, and I'm excited to be here again with you today. It's something we're celebrating. I got one out. I don't really know what I'm doing, and I'm sure they'll get better along the way. So thank you for watching, for listening, for being patient. This is all new to me. I have no idea what I'm doing. So it is an experience, an adventure, trying to figure this all out, and I feel like I'm learning a new language. So thank you for being patient and being here, for listening, for liking and subscribing, all the things that people want you to do. Welcome to episode 2, you guys. I'm excited today to talk a little bit more about perspective and the little things that we're doing every day that matter. Have you ever questioned if what you're actually doing, all those little things, if they even matter? Are you doing good? Are you making a difference? I've wondered that. Years ago, I said this before, I have 7 kids. That's a busy household. But years ago, before I had 7, I probably had 5 little people in my home, and Mike worked out of town. At the time, he built churches around the country and was gone all the time. In fact, we had sat down and tried to discover and figure out how often he was home. And we figured in a year he was home a total of 6 weeks. So I was home alone doing that, but Mike was supporting by being out and working for a family so that I could be home, because that was really important to me. But at the time, it was really hard sometimes to feel like what I was doing mattered or that it was important, because it was all these little tiny things. And I remember talking to Mike one day on the phone, and this was before we had video chat and all of that. So just over the phone, having a conversation with him and feeling very discouraged and being upset, and just, is there anything more to this life than what I'm doing? Because I was cleaning up toys, I was changing diapers, cooking meals for all these people. I was the referee between children quarreling, doing loads of laundry, and just feeling like it was the same thing over and over. And Mike, as I talked to him, he could not understand. He's like, but you're doing what you want to do. Like, this is the life you wanted. And I knew that it was. Like, I always had that desire to just be a mom, and I wanted him to understand. And so I said to him, you're out there working on a church. Let's say that every day you go to work and you put on 3 rows of shingles on this church, and it takes you all day long. And by the end of the day, maybe you feel like, wow, that was a pretty good day. I got 3 rows accomplished all across the whole church. And the next morning you wake up and every shingle has been taken off. I said, that is exactly how I felt like my life was. That every day I did the same thing. It was the same routine. Get up, take care of kids, clean up their toys, make them food, do their laundry. And it was the same things over and over. Dishes and refereeing and homework. And I'd go to bed exhausted, feeling like, man, I'm not even making a difference. And at that moment, when I explained to him about the shingles on the roof, he was like, wow, well, I can see how that feels hard. And it did. At the time, that's exactly how I felt. Like I was doing these same things over and over just to have them all ripped off. I was doing the same exact motions every day, but I couldn't see the bigger picture. And I've realized that not everything is measured by visible results, right? When I talked to Mike on the phone about that, and I was just like, And I just said, and it's really hard because none of the kids are thanking me. None of them care that I've done their laundry. None of them care that they have food on the table. Like, they're not thinking about those things. There's no appreciation. There's no, wow, mom, you're amazing. Look at all the things you do every day. There was none of that. And so it felt very hard to want to keep going because I couldn't see the bigger picture. I was stuck in a mess where I thought that it was meaningless and that these little things every day were just things I was doing, that it didn't have consequences for the future. But they do. They make a difference. And we're going to talk about that just a little bit. I was looking so close that I was not seeing how this would work out in the end. That I couldn't see the finished project. That I was doing more than just all these little things. I was shaping these little humans to become big people one day. And that takes years. It takes a lifetime to become who we were meant to be. And hopefully I was helping to shape them for good. And it takes all of those little tiny things. But tonight I want to talk a little bit about zooming out and seeing the bigger picture, looking through life through a different lens, an eternal lens that focuses on the big picture, the big story from farther away. Sometimes we're in the middle of it. It seems like a mess and meaningless, and that these little things that we're doing are just garbage, but they're not. Interestingly, during the early push of man's trying to get to the moon, they would send unmanned rockets up there that had no windows and try to get pictures and try to do these things. Well, when Apollo 8 finally went out there with astronauts, they had windows and they were able to see the Earth through a different lens, right? They called it the overview effect, being able to see the Earth from a great distance away, where it seemed to them that all of a sudden it was just so tiny. Like, the Earth seemed so small, and that it reduced problems, it reduced all of these things. And as they could look through this overview effect, seeing the Earth from a different view, it gave them an energy and a sense of power and a sense of peace, that everything was going to be okay, that it was possible for magic really to happen, that things weren't as big a deal as they were maybe looked like when you're there. Viewing from a new vantage point changes everything. When we can see things, the bigger picture, that makes a huge difference. We don't get stuck in the thick of thin things. And that's the way our Heavenly Father sees things. He sees things differently than we do. He is infinitely more loving and full of grace and full of mercy when he looks at our life and the things that we're doing. And sometimes the things here seem like they're so important. And while things are of great importance, let's not get stuck on the little things and seeing things so close up that we miss the bigger picture. With practice, it takes practice to kind of back up and see things from a different perspective, to zoom out and see that all those little things that we're doing in our daily lives mean something, that they're working, that they are building relationships and creating hope and joy. And that as we back out and zoom out, we can see things easier, a little better. with a little more clarity, and that some things just don't matter like we thought they did. President Russell M. Nelson encouraged us to think celestial. And he said, if we can look with a different lens, when we do, we develop more compassion for ourselves and for others. We begin to see the meaning in all the little things in life. When we can see things from a celestial view or from an overview, stepping back just a little bit to see the bigger picture, we can see the meaning in all of the little things that we do. And I love that he said we can develop compassion for ourselves and for others. We're all just here on this journey trying to figure it out. And I think that's the thing. This earth, this life really is a laboratory. It's a place where we get to experiment. We're trying new things. We're trying to figure things out. We're working on this, and well, that didn't work out very well, so we'll try something else, and hopefully this works out better. And in the process, a lot of times we inadvertently hurt others or say something that could be hurtful, or to ourselves or to our children or to our friends. And if we can step back and see that we are just trying to figure it out, and that these other people are trying to figure out being a human also, then we can have a little grace for one another and not be so easily offended and easily angered, and that we can just try to be a little bit better. I invite you tonight to just reflect on one small thing that you've done today. Maybe zoom out and just think, okay, in the bigger picture, what is something that I experimented on today? What's one good thing that I did? All the little things matter. All those little things add up to creating big, lasting things. Realize that what might seem minor is actually meaningful. I know that my kids didn't care that I cleaned up their toys or that I changed their diaper, and I see that now with my grandkids, my daughters, my daughter-in-law, as they take care of their babies, my sons even, as they take care of their little ones. These little ones don't notice or recognize all the things that they do, but these little things, even though they're minor, they are very meaningful. And one day they'll look back and realize that their childhood was awesome. And that hopefully every person recognizes that parents are just trying their best, and that we're experimenting along the way, and that we're figuring it out. Nobody gives us manuals. Nobody tells us how to do things. We're just trying to figure it out. We're trying to have understanding. We're trying to be believing, and we're trying to live extraordinary. So as you think today about one small thing that you did, man, write that down. Take a few minutes to journal about that and recognize in your life the little things that you do that matter. Those little things, those minor things that are meaningful. What are those little things you do? Did you call your mom or your dad? Maybe you called your sister. Maybe you held a grandbaby. Maybe you sat with a friend who's struggling. Maybe you made dinner for your family. All of these little minor things are meaningful. They matter. You're doing more than you think you are. You're doing so much good. And I know it's easy to get stuck in feeling like you're not enough or overwhelmed. But you're doing good things. You're doing more than you think you are. You guys, this is exciting. We get to learn and grow together. Please comment on the things that you do. Please write down, maybe comment about one minor thing that you did today that was meaningful, or maybe something minor that somebody else did for you that was meaningful. And as we start this journey together about having understanding, be believing, and live extraordinary, it's going to be amazing where we go. I don't know where this will end or how long I'll do this, but until I feel differently, I have felt a push, an urge, a nudge, a gentle nudge from the other side saying that this is something that I need to do. And so although it feels awkward and talking to a camera feels very weird, I'd much rather have you just sitting with me in my living room and us having a conversation and being able to lift and build each other. I'd much rather do that. But I'm hopeful that this will reach people that maybe it wouldn't have before. And that by doing so, each of us can be lifted and recognize that you're doing good things, that you're doing more than you think you are, and to keep going in a world where it feels like you have to be a certain way or look a certain way or act a certain way or you need to achieve certain things. You don't. What you're doing is enough. You are doing good things and you are loved and you are needed and we need each other. This is an exciting time, and I hope that in the process we'll learn and grow, we'll discover things together, and I'll learn and grow and discover. And as I try to share with you the things that I have learned over the last several years with Hubble, I hope you'll take it for what it's worth and maybe just think about something every week, and together we'll grow and discover. So until next week, where we will talk about who is God. What is that relationship between me and God look like? What is that? How do we do that? I hope you'll join me next week as we discover who God is and what our relationship with Him can look like. Until then, this is HUBBLElife. Have understanding, be believing, and live extraordinary. We'll see you next week.